Have you ever tried to lose weight and have that lean and sleek new look of yours be permanent? Well, today I'm going to tell you how I, an overweight gaming degenerate, lost 15 pounds slow and steady over the course of 60 days. And how during that time I accidentally made a game that already existed without realizing it, and how I let that revelation inspire me for the future of my game. Let's get into it. Hello, howdy, and good day, fellow gamers and game devs. My name's Ricky, and I'm working on my very first game, Cosmic Renegade, a space RPG and starship management game. I'm here to talk about game design, coding tricks, and the behind the scenes in the life of a part-time indie game developer. Since I started my martial arts journey in my last devlog, I decided that I no longer wish to be punched in the face. So it was time for me to get serious about my health so that I could perform at my peak. A little about me, I'm 5 feet and 4 inches tall. Yeah, that's pretty short. I'm pretty short for a dude. I played the dating game on hard mode. I was also 160 pounds, which according to a BMI calculator meant that I was overweight. I was rocking the dwarven bod, which honestly is a pretty great body, except for the fact that I'm more of a dexterity build. To get back to normal, I'd have to go from my current weight of 160 down to 145 pounds, a 15-pound weight loss total. And man, if I got down to that weight, I'd be able to move so fast in boxing. Because right now, every sparring match for me is like a Dark Souls game, but my dodge button doesn't work. So I definitely need to fix that. To start, I needed to study the science behind exercise and nutrition. But where oh where could I find such hidden knowledge? YouTube, of course. In particular, I learned the most from these 3 videos, which I'll link in the description, but here's the gist of it. The first part of my plan was to maintain a calorie deficit. The science is clear, there is no way around it. The only way to lose weight is to have that calorie deficit. That means you must consume less than what you burn through daily activity and exercise. However, this step must be carefully done. Don't overdo it. I wanted my new weight to stick long term, so the best way to do that was to lose weight gradually over a long period of time. To help me calculate all of this, I used an app called MyNet Diary. I'm not sponsored or anything, this is just the one I used, and there are a ton of other apps out there. Speaking of being sponsored, I am not. I enjoy making videos for you guys, so please leave a like and consider subscribing. It's free and it helps out my channel. Originally, I gave myself 90 days to lose the 15 pounds, which meant I'd need to lose roughly 1.2 pounds per week. That means around an average calorie deficit per day between 500 and 600 calories. For reference, a normal meal for me is usually around 500 to 800 calories, so it would be like skipping an entire meal for the day. So I had to just shrink my portion sizes. The second part of my plan was to balance something I like to call the 3 exercise macros. I'm sure you've heard of macros or macronutrients for your diet like carbs, protein, and fat. Well, apparently exercise kinda has the same thing. Did you know that? I didn't. I learned about this from Ben Winnie's Conditioning for MMA video where he talks about our body's 3 energy systems. The most helpful graph was this one. It looks complicated, but all you need to know is this. Let me simplify this for you. In this first section, the red section, that's the really intense exercise. That burns sugar. Then the yellow section, the moderately intense stuff, that burns carbs. And the last section, the green section, the not so intense stuff, that burns fat. See, originally before I learned all of this, most of my exercise has been up here with the pretty intense stuff. But I figured for this challenge I'm giving myself, I wanted to be more efficient with targeting the fat zones, so I needed to include slower exercises. The last part of my plan involved the keto diet. This one I wanted to try based on Tony Jeffries' video. For those of you that don't know him, he's an Olympic boxer from Australia, and in his video, he talked about how he did the keto diet to get back in the fighting shape. Ketogenesis is when the body prioritizes burning fat instead of carbohydrates as fuel. And apparently you can trick your body into entering this state with the keto diet, and that's where you eat very little to no carbohydrates so that there's an oversupply of healthy fats in your body like nuts and avocados that your body is incentivized to burn. Now with these 3 lessons, I made a little diet and exercise plan and got to work. In my last devlog, I talked about how I was going to turn this text-based RPG into a starship management game where you could use the command line to do things like buy supplies, go to different planets, harvest resources, and then sell those resources for a profit. Specifically, I wanted a simple prototype to test my core game loop: travel, make money, make progress. For this prototype, travel is all about getting the player to optimize routes, navigating from the core worlds out to harvest valuable resources from the frontier planets, which, by the way, are procedurally generated. That's right, no two playthroughs of Cosmic Renegade are alike because each galaxy is different. The money part of this prototype was all about inventory management. That meant I needed to build buying and selling mechanics based on which planet the player was on. For example, you can buy and sell almost anything in the core worlds, but out on the frontier, supplies are limited or expensive, and the resources you gather take up precious inventory space, so the player has to plan accordingly. The final section of this prototype was about making progress by paying down your starship mortgage. Yes, as the player, you need to harvest resources from the frontier planets and sell them back at the core worlds for a profit. You need to make enough for the minimum debt payments every 30 days, otherwise your starship gets repossessed and you are, say it with me, slapped with a game over. Now, the other part of the progress was upgrades. Any money left over from selling your resources can be spent on starship upgrades, a bigger cargo hold for longer runs, an advanced drill to harvest more resources, and of course, better weapons for your crew to survive combat with the hostile aliens from the uncivilized worlds. Hello and welcome back to the Godot engine. Now, this prototype is really cool because this basically starts right where we left off in our last devlog. If you haven't seen that yet, devlog 10 is about me getting punched in the face and switching to Godot. It's the best video that I've ever done on this channel so far. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and see that after this video. I'll link that at the end. We have just fixed our starship that was dead in the water, dead in space, and we are able to now travel. We start in the core worlds, and the whole reason we're traveling, doing this whole starship thing, is because we are a starship business and we want to make some money. The point of the game right now is to pay down your starship debt. You can see this in the finances section on the side panel in the bottom right. We have a debt of around 240,000 and we have a minimum payment that's due at the end of the month. That's 2,000D, right? So we need to make money by going to frontier planets outside the core worlds, harvest the resources that are there, the rich resources that are there, come back and sell them for a profit because people like resources from other places. Then whatever profits are remaining, you can spend it on upgrades for your starship, or you can use it to pay down this debt. Let's go ahead and show a little bit of that. I can choose to go to either planets A, B, or C. You can see a list of hyperspace lanes here. Before I do that, I need to make sure that I have enough supplies, right? Good. In the bottom right of the side panel, you can see the inventory. I have a capacity for 25, only 10 is occupied, and it's all occupied by supplies. I'm going to buy a little bit more just to show that, and also just to make sure, if you run out of space in this, of supplies in this game, you're going to get, say it with me, slapped with a game over. Buys 5 supplies, I am sure, yes. So now that we are all supplied, before I travel, I'm going to get some information about planet A. That's kind of where I want to go. So I've got a little bit of danger, some resources, but the travel time is really nice. Only 1 day. Every day that you travel, your starship consumes 1 supply. So plan accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and go to planet A. Boom. We are now on planet A. It is day 2. You can see that our supplies went down. Take some supplies to travel. We can also see in the hyperspace lanes that we can either go back to the core worlds from here, or we can go to new planets called Planet 0, Planet 1, and Planet 2. All of which are generated, by the way. And I'll show you how I do that after I show a little bit more of this game. What did we come here to do? We came here to harvest some resources. So let me go ahead and do that. Boom. We got 1 resource. We'll keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, and we have our first alien encounter, right? They don't like us taking their stuff. Captain, what should we do? You can either choose to fight or to flee. If you fight and lose, you might lose 10% of your inventory. So that's supplies and resources. And because the danger level is so low, we actually have a decent chance of winning here, 75% chance of winning. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that. And we won. Wonderful. We can continue to harvest from this planet. If we had lost, for example, we would have lost our inventory first and foremost, and then we would have also been locked out of the planet because the planet would have turned super hostile, can't land anywhere, and you're going to have to come back after a couple of days. And we don't want to do that because we are short on days. Oh, I almost got a game over. Did you see that? I only have one supply left. I need to make sure that I can get back to the core worlds with that supply, because if you run out of supplies, you will get slapped with a game over. Let me go back to the core worlds. Let me hit return. Yes. And we just made it back. So we don't have supplies. I need to remember that. Let's make some money. Sell all resources. Resources. Yes, I'm sure. And that is how you make some cash. So we only have 2,100. I want to save 2,000 of this to make sure I'm covered by the end of the month. But I'm going to go ahead and... Actually, no. I'm not going to save money. I'm going to be a little risky because I want to show the other parts of my game. I'm going to... I'll pay 1,000 towards my debt. Pay 1,000. It'll ask me if I'm sure. And that is how you slowly inch your way towards freedom. You have $1,000 of equity in your starship, and you only have to pay 239,000 more. The other 1,000, I'm actually going to spend on upgrades. So I can choose. I can either get a bigger cargo hull. It'll give me more spaces, but it'll increase my travel cost. I can get better at combat, or I can get a bigger drill. I'm going to go ahead and choose, and now we are ready for our next voyage. Look at that. That's a cool prototype, right? And I can actually play this for a long time. I think the closest I've gotten was maybe like 40,000. It's not a bad start. It's not a bad start. So one of the things that I wanted to go over was planet generation. How am I making unique planets for each playthrough of Cosmic Renegade? I do that through the player manager. And in the player manager, you can see that it has 4 predefined planets. And I'm actually going to show that here. Yeah, there we go. So planets A, B, and C, I know everything about them. Same with the core worlds. But anything beyond these planets, I have no idea about. So for example, planet A will have branches that shoot to different planets, 0, 1, and 2. I don't know anything about those planets. They'll have different danger levels. They'll have different resources, a different travel time. And that's how we can have a really fun experience every time we play this game. I'm actually going to show some of my code here for the planet manager. So here is a function. Whenever we visit a new planet, we are going to generate 0 to 3 that are connected. 1 to 3 that are connected to the new planet that we had visited. So every time that the player goes to a new planet that you haven't been there before, it'll create 1 to 3 new planets that branch off of that. Those are your neighbor planets. So in this function here, I take in whatever the current planet is and however many planets to generate. But basically, all I'm going to do is generate it, and that's through this function right here. Here's how it's generated. It needs to take in whatever planet the player just landed on, because you need to connect those two via hyperspace lane. So first we instantiate the neighbor planet, and then we set its visibility to false so that you can't see it anywhere. If I set it to true, there's a risk that it pops up in front of the command line, which is really funny. And then I needed to add the generated planet to the scene, and then I add it to the dictionary, and then I have to set the hyperspace lane. You can see that it'll set the hyperspace lane between the current planet and the generated neighbor planet, and it'll just randomly choose how much travel time that is, usually 1 to 3 days. And that's how planets are auto-generated. So when I showed this game to my friends that I played D&D with, they said it reminded them of a game called Lethal Company. And I have the Steam page pulled up right here. So Lethal Company, the premise of this game is that you and your crew of friends have to collect scrap from different planets to make an ever-increasing quota by the end of the week. And if you don't, you get ejected out into space and you have to start over. The game is filled with a lot of fun, scary moments and shenanigans with friends, which is awesome. It's a great game. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and try it. Great indie game. I couldn't help the similarities, and one of the things that I noticed that I think for some reason I feel works really well is the whole premise that a really advanced starship needs to be run using a command line, which thematically I thought was really fitting. And I'm definitely going to keep that command line thing for flying your starship in the full game that I make. You know, anytime you interact with it. So that could be like navigating to different planets or managing your finances, buying supplies, etc. Command lines are awesome, in my opinion. There's something really satisfying about it. Anyway, back to the main video. So by now it's been a little over 60 days, and I'm happy to announce that I've reached my goal of losing 15 pounds, and I'm a month ahead of schedule. Here's a list of the things that worked and what didn't really have much of an effect. Keep in mind, this list is from my personal experience only. I am a single data point that have just gone through this in the past 2 months. I am not an exercise and nutrition coach, so take everything I say with a gamer's grain of salt, okay? I'm just some guy making games on the internet, you know? What do I know? The biggest thing that I felt made a huge difference was maintaining that calorie deficit. I was right, the deficit was king. And a big help with that was using an app which made it easy to scan stuff that I was eating. Something that didn't really, or at least felt like I didn't really have much of an effect, was keto. Keto, it's not that it didn't work, it's just that it was too hard for me to filter the kinds of foods I was eating. And I met my goal anyway, so maybe if I was looking to be more aggressive with the weight loss, keto might have had a noticeable difference, but for slow and steady weight loss, it didn't seem to do anything for me. Daily exercise was also key. For some reason, on days that I didn't exercise, I tended to eat more. I have no idea why. I have no scientific backing for that. This is just what I observed from my own eating habits. I don't think incorporating lighter forms of exercise like yoga or walking really helped me, but what I did was sprinkle in about 15 to 30 minutes of shadowboxing throughout the day. The way I did that, I usually like to, if I need a break from work, bust out a video from this channel called Kingdom Martial Arts Academy. They're a Muay Thai father and son duo on YouTube with excellent technical advice, and I just pull up one of their videos and try to follow along. The last thing that worked for me was changing my environment. Now, unfortunately, I did this by pretty much completely moving out of my parents' place and living alone. I love my parents, and I'm fortunate enough to have a place to stay with them if I need to, but they don't really eat the healthiest things, and it's hard to say no to free food. Since I started living more independently, it was way easier to stay disciplined on what I ate. So that's the list. That is how I lost 15 pounds in 60 days. I think the biggest thing I learned from this experience was that a little bit each day really does go a long way. Or in other words, we often overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a month, a year, a lifetime. Don't stress if you don't see progress right away. There's a mountain of hidden, I can guarantee it, there's a mountain of hidden effort that nobody ever sees behind a single pinpoint of success. On this channel, it took me 17 videos to get one with good numbers. But what you don't see are countless of other blogs and videos that I made in my early 20s that will hopefully never see the light of day. It's the same for game development, you know? You have to try dozens of prototypes before you make the right game, right? This is my wall of prototypes. Usually, there's a period of exploration when you're trying to figure out your game mechanics and systems that you want to work with that most people don't see. Jonas Tyroller, one of the devs of Thronefall, actually has a great video talking about that. And in life in general, you have to try a bunch of different paths to find the best one for you. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. Just ask all the Souls games fans out there. Comment down below if you're trying to lose weight and why. Are you doing it for aesthetics? Are you trying to survive sparring like me? Whatever it is, I'll do my best to support you. Leave a like and consider subscribing. It's free and it helps out my channel. For now, see you in space, cowboys. Oh.